Do you know the amount of people we have had come in our program as a graphic designer or as a life coach or as a weight loss coach, and then 3 weeks into it, they all of a sudden want to be a business coach that teaches people how to launch?
Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
Hey guys, welcome back to the Work Hard, Live Soft podcast, where we talk about how to build a successful business so you can design a life that you love. I am so excited for season 3 because we're going to be talking all about how to become more disciplined as an entrepreneur so you can live the life that you want. And I thought that this was really important because I'm recognizing amongst my peers, amongst my clients, that we're all getting a little bit tired. We're all ready to rush into living in the soft life because honestly, a lot of us are burnt out. It is harder to make money in our businesses, trying to rely on algorithms. Is TikTok going to stay around? Is it going to go away? Do we need to start being on YouTube? What do we need to start doing? Can we still charge high ticket? And so regardless of all of the things that's going on online and in your market, regardless of what your industry is, it always is going to come down to who you are as a person and your characters and your habits and your routines. And yes, I can blame some things on the market. I can blame some things on the algorithm, but I have to look at myself and honestly say, girl, did you do the best that you could? And I know that there have been seasons where I've been a little lazy or I've been a little complacent. And that can also happen when you've been in business for over a decade and you start to feel a little bit entitled to getting results without working as hard as you did when you started. And I get it because honestly speaking, I don't think I should have to work as hard. I feel like I put in enough reps. And I called this like business metabolism, right? I built enough metabolism where I should be able to still get results without working as hard. But when things shift, I have to also shift my work ethic. So for today's episode, we're going to talk about the top characteristics of my clients that I've worked with who have built 6 and 7-figure businesses. And I wanted to talk about this today because I've talked about my business before, and it's really important to me that when we see successful business owners, we don't just assume that the business owner that is successful because of their specific industry. And so people might think, well, Maya's business is successful because she's a coach or because she charges high ticket or because she caters to women or because she uses Instagram. And so I want to talk about my clients and where they were when they first came to me, the industry that they were in, but most importantly, the characteristics, right? The similarities in their characteristics that they had to become successful. This is also important because if you have ever considered working with a coach, whether it's me or somebody else, there are things that you need to have in place that you already need to have innately within you to be successful inside of a coaching program. So we're also going to talk about some of the clients who have been in our coaching programs who didn't do as well. And I just want you to be really mindful because when you make an investment in yourself, you want to make sure that you show up 100%. So let's go ahead and dive in. So one of the things that we do every year, and sometimes we even do it throughout the year right before a launch, is we will study our most successful clients. We'll even study the clients that we didn't have the best experience with. And we want to take a look at their characteristics, what industry they were in, what results they've been able to get. And the reason we do this is because we want to make sure that we craft and refine our messaging to attract more of our ideal clients so we can keep helping people get the best transformation possible. And we want to make sure that we repel the wrong fit clients that we are not equipped to best serve. And so when we are looking at this, we have our client archetypes and we call these winning clients our MVP clients. And so I'm going to share a little bit about some of these clients and what their characteristics are. 3 of the clients that are top of mind for me, one client, Gabby, she owns a real estate agency and she is an expert at helping people get started in real estate, or if they already have 1 or 2 properties, she helps them secure more properties. I've actually been a client of hers. I love her agency. One thing that I love about the women that we work with is that they're already experts when they come to me. They've already been doing this. A lot of my clients have been in their industry for 5, 10, 15, upwards of 20 years. But the issue is that they are undercharged charging. And so when they come to me, they're like, I know I'm good at what I do. I just need to figure out how to price myself. And so when Gabby first came to us, she was charging maybe $700 for people to work with her. We restructured her offer. We made it more valuable. We restructured it in a way that her clients could get results faster. And she increased her rates to $10,000 and then eventually $20,000. And so it's been amazing to see her grow, going from $700 a client to $20,000 a client to then running a multi-seven-figure agency. And I'm excited to tap into some of the characteristics about Gabby that I love that's made her successful. Then we also had Shaquelle. I remember Shaquelle came to Impact Weekend in 2023. She is a career coach. Her platform was primarily on TikTok, and she was just simply giving advice to people on how to secure a good job or how to ask for a higher salary or negotiate a higher salary in your career. And she was recognizing all these people were asking her for advice. And when she came in Impact Weekend, she was charging less than $750 an hour for her expertise. And now she has a program between $2,000 and $5,000, and she's generated over $2 million in 2 years since working with us. But there's something very specific about how she shows up that we're going to talk about today. And so we have multiple clients who have had amazing results, but let's tap into what those traits are. The first thing is that their mind was made up. And I recognized this early on. When I first started coaching, I would be surprised that my clients were getting amazing results, not because I didn't think that I was a good coach. It was because I didn't realize how great my information was. But what I also realized is that it wasn't my coaching solely that got my clients results. It was their mindset. And I remember years ago, I think it was 2016 or 2017, one of my clients, he told me, Maya, I was able to go full time in my business because before I hired you, I made the decision that I was going to go full time in my business. And when I had conversations with Gabby, had conversations with Shaquelle, had conversations with Fallon, had conversations with any of my clients who are successful now, they had already made up in their mind. They had already had the faith to know I'm going to be successful with my business. I know what God told me. I know what the promise is. I know what the vision is. I know I'm going to be successful. I just need to find the right coach who is going to guide me on this path. And so they were clear that they were going to be successful, but they were also clear that they needed wise counsel to be able to get them there. So if you were looking to invest in a coaching program, but you were putting all of your eggs in a basket in terms of relying on the coach to constantly tell you, you can do this, you're going to be successful, you're not going to make it. You don't want to live a life where you are solely reliant on your coach or even your spouse or your friends or anybody to constantly remind you of who you are and that you can be successful, because that is incredibly dangerous. And so when you start relying on people to instill confidence in you, they become your God, and that is incredibly dangerous. So the first thing is you got to make sure that your mind is made up. You have to know, what do I want my destination to be? And so sometimes when people join coaching programs and they're not aware of their destination, they get in and they become frustrated because they don't know how the roadmap can apply to what they're trying to do. One of my favorite quotes is, most people don't get to where they want to go because most people don't know where they want to go. You need to have your mind made up. The second trait that we love in our MVP clients is that they are coachable and teachable. There is no ego. And it's so interesting because we have seen clients who come in with ego. We see clients who come in with no ego. And it's really the clients who have no ego who actually should have ego because they are really killing it in their industry. But they're confident enough to know that ego doesn't serve them. They're confident enough to know that they don't have anything to prove to their coach. They don't need to come in trying to tell me how I should be coaching them. They come in, they release any expectations, and they tell me, Maya, here's my expertise. Here's who I want to work with. Here's my goals. You give me what I am paying you to give me. And I love that. So when I tell a client, hey, I want you to go do a webinar, or hey, I want you to go do whatever, I will say that when Shaquelle came to me, she was like, girl, I'm not doing a webinar. And I was like, yes, you are. And then after her first few webinars, and she was doing 10 or 5-figure launches every single time she did a webinar, she's like, okay, yeah, I know I said I wasn't doing it, but now I'm going to do it. And so being coachable doesn't mean that there won't be a little bit of resistance here and there. Being coachable doesn't mean that you can't question your coach every once in a while, but being coachable means that when it's hard, you're going to do the work. When you don't fully understand, you're going to do the work. When you're feeling nervous, you're going to ask questions. Being coachable is about being vulnerable enough to say, I'm a little bit nervous, I'm a little bit scared, but I'm still going to do the work. Because what we've seen on the other end of that is people coming in and trying to tell us how we should coach them. Listen, I've been a coach for over 10 years. Our processes work, our frameworks work. And it's really important that if you make the decision to work with me or another coach, you have to already decide, I trust this person. I've done enough research on this coach. I've seen enough of their case studies, enough of their testimonials to know that something they have in place with their systems or their processes are working. So you have to be coachable. Here's my recommendation. Try what your coach says first before you try to sprinkle all of your own little stuff in there, okay? Because this is what I see people doing. And a lot of people aren't even necessarily doing it out of ego or because they don't trust their coach. I think sometimes people just get excited. They have shiny object syndrome. And so if I tell you do a webinar and you come back and you say, I'm doing a 5-day challenge, there's a reason I'm telling you to do something the way I'm telling you to do it. And if you need more context because you don't understand, ask versus trying to create your own frameworks. So try what your coach said first before you try to sprinkle your own things into it. The third trait that we love with our clients is that they're confident in their skills. I cannot emphasize enough how important confidence is. When we work with clients who aren't confident in their skills, what happens is they come in our program and they switch up every 2 weeks what they want their expertise to be. Do you know the amount of people we have had come in our program as a graphic designer or as a life coach or as a weight loss coach, and then 3 weeks into it, they all of a sudden want to be a business coach that teaches people how to launch?
Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
We know what your expertise was when you first joined the program, okay? And that happens because when you're not rooted and you're not confident in what your skill set is, you are going to try to be a chameleon and do what everybody else is doing. So I remember one of my clients, Tanange, who is a mindset and a business coach, when she and I first started working together, she knew that she was great at what she did. She didn't necessarily know how to package it, which was fine because that's what clients come to me for. It's the confidence and the clarity in your skills that I need so we can package it. And when she was coming to me, she was in MLM marketing or whatever it's called. And she just knew I'm spending a lot of time pouring into these women. I'm spending a lot of time mentoring these women and coaching these women. And I want to know, is there a way that I can do this outside of this industry so I can make more money? And because of her confidence in the transformation she was getting for these women, she would say, I have a 30-minute call with these women, and at the end, their mind is completely transformed. And because I could hear that level of confidence, it made it easier for me to be able to help her price her offers, to be able to package herself, to be able to brand herself and put herself out there. But when you come to me and you're constantly doubting your skills, you're constantly doubting your value, you're constantly doubting the transformation you can get for other people, you're going to shrink. And what I need for my clients to become MVPs is the V is for visibility. If you're not willing to show up and be visible with confidence, you're not going to be able to make money. You're not going to be able to get new clients and become successful. So the confidence is so key and so important. Now, the fourth trait in my clients who are running 6- and 7-figure businesses is that they're consistent. I need you to be consistent if you want to be successful. And when I say consistent, I'm not talking about you're simply just posting every day. You're showing up when it's hard. You're showing up when you're scared. You're showing up when you got rejected. And one of the traits that we see in clients who don't have as much success is that they give up so quickly. Life be lifing is the excuse that we have heard over and over. And I have just got to say to that, you need to be more tough. You need to be more resilient. Life is going to happen as long as there is air in your lungs. Life is going to be hard and everybody's hard looks different. But as a coach, what I do know for sure is even as empathetic as I can be with you, I am not your therapist, and you're still responsible for your own success. And so you have to make the decision when life happens. Do I still want to be successful in business? Do I still want to build wealth for my family? Do I still want to make money? Do I still want to have an impact? You have to ask yourself these questions when you run into these road bumps. Part of being consistent is not prioritizing convenience. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. Consistency happens because you make the decision to be committed to the outcome. You wake up every single day and you say, here's what my focus is. I'm going to do it because I made the decision that I wanted to have these results. So consistency is not about it being convenient. Also, consistency needs to be measured accurately. I think sometimes people think that, oh, I was consistent because I did it for a few weeks. When you're looking at the long game, if you're wanting to build a multi-six or multi-seven-figure business, you need to start considering, what would this look like 5 years from now? What would this look like 10 years from now? And so if you're only looking to get results within weeks, even in months, you have to be willing to say to myself, if I don't get exactly what I want in a few months, am I still willing to show up? And so consistency is so important to make sure that you're being committed and make sure that you're accurately measuring results and accurately measuring results in the right time frame. Showing up a few times when you're in a season of motivation is not consistency. It's just simply motivation. And so what I tell my clients is, you showing up for the first 21 days, great job. I need 21 weeks. I need 21 months. And so it is really important to think about the long game when it comes to consistency. Now, the fifth trait that I love in the clients that we work with and that I truly appreciate, because I get it, is that they're not easily discouraged, or they don't allow discouragement to stop them. Now, I know we all deal with hardship and grief differently, and I think it is very important to be able to take some time and say, you know what, I do need to go to therapy, or I do need to take some time and pause for a little bit. But there is a difference between pausing and stopping. And so you have to be honest with yourself and say, do I really want this or do I not? Is this a priority for me, or is this discouragement going to hold me back? I have been through some discouraging things in business, and I wish somebody would have warned me and said, Maya, you are going to go through hardship, whether it's in business or your personal life. And if you don't check yourself and you don't know how to cope from these things and you don't know how to be resilient, it is going to affect your business. And so that's an honest question that you need to have. And I didn't realize as a coach that I was going to be trusted by God to be able to work with women who were dealing with life-altering circumstances. I've worked with women who have dealt with infidelity, who have gone through divorce, who have gone through separation and then decided to get back with their spouse and then decided that it didn't work and then decided that it worked. And thank God that it did. I've dealt with women who have dealt with miscarriage, who have dealt with tough pregnancies. There's so many layers to our lives that they are going to affect how we show up in business if we haven't decided that nothing can get in the way from who God called me to be and what I truly desire for my business. And so this is not to say that you should dismiss your emotions, but it is to say that you have to ask yourself, do I know how to cope when I am feeling discouraged? It doesn't mean that you always have to dismiss when things are hard. It doesn't mean that discouragement isn't allowed to happen, but it does mean that discouragement cannot lead your life. The sixth trait that we really love about our clients is that they have big vision. I love the clients that come to me and they tell me goals where I'm like, I don't even know why you hired me to help you with that, because I've never seen a goal that big. But I love it because, one, it stretches me as a coach, but two, the vision is big enough where they recognize I can't slack on this. There's some goals that I have where I'm like, I could slack. If I told myself, oh, I want to lose an extra 2 pounds, how much work do you really have to do for that, right? But if I say I want to get in the best shape of my life and I want to get my body fat percentage down to 18% and I want to increase my muscle mass by 5 pounds or whatever those numbers look like, the specificity and that vision is going to require you to show up. And so the bigger the vision, the bigger the commitment, the bigger the work ethic. And we love working with clients who have phenomenal vision that lead to phenomenal work ethic. But then there are some people who come to us who maybe aren't yet ready to build a successful business. Maybe they just want to run a hobby or they want to have a side hustle, which is totally fine. We're just not the business for that. But when we do have people that come to us and say, oh, I just want to make an extra $1,000 a month, or I want to make $5,000 a month in my business, we politely redirect them to who can help them. Or if we don't have a referral, we'll have to reject them because we are specifically working to help our clients build multi six-figure and seven-figure businesses. And so you don't have to beat yourself up if you're listening to this and you're like, does that mean I have small vision if I don't want to build a multi six-figure business? It just means that you don't have big goals in that area, and it's completely fine. It doesn't mean anything about your character. But if you are a client and you're like, I want to make $20,000 a month, I want to make $50,000 a month, I want to make $80,000 a month, and I want the right coach who can guide me to do that, you are the type of person that we get excited to work with because we've helped dozens of clients be able to hit those goals. And so we also love when our clients have that big vision because it's a sign that they have awareness of their value. And so sometimes when people come to us and they have smaller goals and I only want to make an extra $1,000 to $5,000 a month, to me, that is an indication that they are lacking awareness of their value. To me, it's an indication that they're shrinking a little bit and they're scared to say what their big goals are. And it's fine because I can work through fears. I can work through shrinking, but then we do have to get honest and say, do you truly want this? Or do you want something a little bit smaller and maybe you need to go, maybe just sign up for a course or do something different. But we love the girls with big vision. And last but not least, this one is really important and one that I really want you to think about and consider is that the clients who have had amazing results, they were risk tolerant versus being risk averse, meaning they didn't need to think about it for weeks whether or not they wanted to make the investment. They made the investment before they were ready. And if you are measuring how well your life is going to go and how you're going to make decisions based on if you're ready or not, you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life because we're never ready to do anything that we've never done before. We don't have the experience to be ready. I wasn't ready when I became a coach. I wasn't ready when I started my business. I wasn't ready when I dropped out of college. I'm not going to be ready when I get married. I'm not going to be ready when I have my first child. There's going to be some things that I can do to prepare and start thinking about so I can at least have a little bit of a roadmap and have some guidance on how I desire things to go. But it will be my first time doing some of these things, or in the past, it was my first time coaching. It was my first time building a business. It was my first time dropping out of college. It was my first time asking for that price. You're never going to be 100% ready because some of these things are things that you're doing for the very first time. And one thing that I want you to think about, especially when it comes to investing in yourself, is when we look at a dollar amount, you have to really ask yourself, am I going to allow whatever that dollar amount is, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 250? Am I going to allow $5,000 to keep me from the life that I desire? Am I really going to allow $10,000 to keep me from getting the information that I desire to make $100,000? Am I really going to allow $250 to keep me from accessing the tools and the resources that I need every single month to be able to have the impact that I desire? This is a question that you have to ask yourself. And in another episode, I'm going to talk about how we create habits and thought processes and stories with money and how we need to create a healthy relationship with money. And that's going to be one of the first things you need to ask yourself. Am I so afraid to release $250, so afraid to release $5,000 that I truly don't believe that it's going to come back to me? One of the things that I learned regarding money mindset is that if I truly have faith in the thing that I'm investing in, meaning I have faith in myself, right? I have faith that I made this investment and I'm going to get the return. But what I've recognized is that the return isn't always going to come from the place where I sowed the seed. And I remember hiring my first business coach, and it was like a $12,000 to $15,000 investment. I was very young, and I knew that whether or not the coaching program was phenomenal, I was going to make that money anyway, because there was something in me that knew I was worth that $12,000 because I decided to put my money where my mouth was. I didn't need anybody to tell me, Maya, you're worth $10,000. You're worth $12,000. Your skills are worth $15,000. I knew it myself because I was the one that decided to take that money and plant a seed, and that seed was sown into myself. Sometimes what I hear people saying is like, oh, I want to work with you because I want to invest in you. And I have to remind people, you're not investing in me. You're investing in yourself through me. And so when I part ways with money, regardless if it's a coaching program, if it's an employee, if it's a new tool or resource, I'm not investing in that person or in that tool. I'm investing in myself through that tool. And because I believe in myself and I believe what God has called me to do, I know that there's going to be a return on investment, whether it comes directly from that source or it comes from somewhere else. And so when you start to shift your money mindset and you start to have a healthier relationship with money and start to truly have faith that you will get a return on your investment, you won't be so fearful to part ways with money. And so I'm really honored that my clients trusted me enough to make an investment in themselves through me. But that is one of the number one things that I see holding people back. I hold a live event every year called Impact Weekend. And in order to get in the room, you need to want to grow a business, but the investment for the ticket is between $1,000 to $2,500. And I have heard people say year after year after year, Maya, I've been wanting to come to Impact Weekend. I've been saving to come to Impact Weekend. And I don't mean any shade by this, right? But I have to ask this very honest question. How many years does it take to save the money that you need to save, to make the investment that you need to make to get access to the things and the people and the value that you desire? You can't say that you desire to do something, but you've been sleeping on it for the past 3 years. So whether it's Impact Weekend, this isn't about Impact Weekend specifically, or it's about a coaching program, or it could be a purse. It doesn't have to be something like a business. It doesn't have to be, something that we deem so important, whether it's a purse, whether it's your health, whether it's whatever. If you have been saying you've wanted to do something and you're doing it year after year, you have to be honest with yourself that somewhere along the road, you started prioritizing your excuses more than your commitment. There's a reason you haven't saved $1,000 to come to Impact Weekend. There's a reason you haven't gotten healthier and started changing your nutrition. There's a reason why your marriage hasn't gotten better. There's a reason why you haven't made the decision to do the things that you said you wanted to do. Now, some things may take time, but year after year after year, you're not being honest enough with yourself. So you have to start saying, am I making the investments that I need to make, or am I being comfortable? Am I being lazy? Am I being complacent? Am I being fearful? Am I being too risk averse? So those are the traits that we love with our clients. So if any of these characteristics align with who you are, you have your mind made up, meaning you're going to be successful. You just need some guidance. You need some strategy. You need a little bit of help, or that you're coachable. You have no interest in paying a coach to not listen to that coach, and that you feel very confident in your skills. Let's say you hire a business coach, you want to monetize your skills, and you want to monetize them because you actually know that your skills can produce results for people, or you're consistent. You're like, I'm willing to do the work. I wake up every day and I post or I send the emails, but there's something quite not working and I just need help to figure out what I need to be consistent in. Or you know how to deal with discouragement. You don't allow it to hold you back. You know how to manage your emotions. You have the discernment to know, listen, I need to pause for a little bit because I'm causing more damage by trying to keep going. But then you also have the discernment to know, I have been in this mindset or stuck for too long and I need to get back up and do the work. And you have big vision. You're like, I want to make $100,000 a year minimum. I really want to make $250,000. I really want to make $500,000. I want to be a multi-millionaire. If you have that big vision, we love that. And if I gotta take risks in order to get the reward. I gotta risk looking stupid. I gotta risk being embarrassed. I gotta risk that this money doesn't come back in the time frame that I think it might not come back. I have to risk not knowing exactly how it's going to turn out and when things are going to happen for me. So if that's you and you're looking for a coach and you're wanting to level up, you want a community that can help you get to the next level, we would love to work with you. Go to buildtoimpact.com/programs and apply to work with us. Let's have an honest conversation. And trust me, if I don't feel like it's the right fit, I will let you know. But if we do have a conversation and I truly feel like you have a really good skill set that I feel confident we can support you in packaging and pricing so you can get to the next level, let's have a conversation about what moving forward looks like. But let me give you some tips on what you need to be mindful of if you do decide to work with either us or another business coach. Here are some of the things that we've seen go wrong with some people who have made the investment, but they weren't able to get a return because some of these things held them back. The very first thing is doubting yourself from the very beginning. If you buy an online course, you go to a business conference, you end up hiring a coach, whether it's group or whether it's one-on-one, but you constantly are doubting yourself, that is going to show up in the work that you're doing. It's going to show up in the feedback you're receiving from your coach. It's going to show up in when you send out an email to your list. It's going to show up in when your coach or your accountability partner tells you, hey, you need a post today. Why haven't you promoted your business? Why aren't you increasing your rates? If you're consistently doubting yourself, it's going to cause you to shrink. And the one thing that you cannot do when you want to be visible and you want people to know about your genius and the transformation that you can offer is that you cannot shrink. So you have to feel very confident within yourself. Second mistake that we see is people who pretend they want coaching, but they really just want somebody to co-sign on all of their ideas. Please, I say this from the bottom of my heart, please show up with the level of humility to be able to receive. Please show up with the level of humility to be able to say, I need wisdom from this person. Yes, I'm brilliant and I'm confident in what I do, but I'm also smart enough to know that I'm dealing with a gap and I am making an investment to get some support so I can close this gap. If you are going into a coaching program and you're trying to tell that coach how to coach you, don't even make the investment. Just go coach yourself, right? If you're so confident in yourself or you have so much pride and ego around how you want to do things, it is not going to be the right time for you to make an investment because you're not going to be able to hear the guidance and the wisdom that you need to hear. And so we've seen it time and time again. I will do my best to show up as a coach. Hey, here's the strategy that I want you to go with based on your industry, based on your goals, based on the amount of years you've been online, and based on your existing following. Here's the plan that I want you to go with. And I will see people try to counter that with, well, actually, another coach told me, or I saw online. So if you're going to join a coaching program and try to counter everything with things that you saw online for free, where that information has no context into who you are and how you're showing up, just don't even make the investment. Be coachable or don't join a coaching program. Third mistake that we see is people who continue to switch up on their ideas. And we talked about this. This comes from shiny object syndrome. This comes from not operating with integrity. This comes from chasing the dollar more than you're chasing impact. You're trying to figure out which industry will make me the most money, which industry is popular right now, which industry is going to get me more followers, which topic is going to help me go viral. You need to focus on whatever your unique gift is. I implore you to be clear on what your expertise is and remain in that industry and in that niche. If you're the type of person who's going to join a coaching program and you're going to change every 2 to 3 weeks what your expertise is and how you want to show up, you can't expect to see results when you're inconsistently showing up. Because if you're showing up as a life coach 1 week, and then you're showing up as a weight loss coach a week later, and then you're showing up as a financial expert a week later, it's just simply not going to work. So you have to be consistent in how you show up in your expertise. Another mistake that we see is people who show up halfway and then they still want to see results. You got to give it 100%, especially when you're in a container that's 12 weeks, 6 months, 1 year, whatever it is. You have to say to yourself, I'm going to show up 100%. If there are 12 coaching calls, I want you to commit to those 12 coaching calls so that you can leave room for error. We've had clients that Our calls are in the afternoon, and we've had some clients who work at a 9 to 5. And I know my clients who worked at the 9 to 5, they watched those replays as soon as they got home. One of our clients was an accountant, so she would be working throughout the day and she would watch the replays in the evening and submit her questions. And she would make sure that her questions were getting answered every single time she watched the replay. And then if she had a follow question, she would put it inside of our client community to make sure that she was being served. She was not going to have any excuses to why she couldn't show up. She knew what her lifestyle was. She knew, I work a 9 to 5, so I'm going to have to do this after hours. We've had some people in the program who are moms. Listen, I know I have a toddler at home, so I'm going to have to be more flexible with how I show up. I know that I have 2 jobs. I know that whatever it is, you got to be honest with what your lifestyle is. If you have a lifestyle right now where you're saying, I'm not going to be able to show up 100%, then maybe now is not the right time for you to make an investment in a coaching program. But we have had clients who have a lot of different things going on. They have a job, they have a side hustle, they got a whole husband, they got families, they got kids, they have whatever it is that they have. They have learned how to adjust their lifestyle to be able to still chase their dreams. And last but not least, a common mistake that we see with people who don't typically get results inside of coaching programs or even outside of a coaching program, they're not seeing success in their life and business, is that they have poor perspective. They look at everything through a negative lens. They look at everything with a victim mindset. They show up with expectancy to lose. They blame everybody else for why they're failing. Well, this person should have promoted me. This person should have supported me. This person should have done this. And I find it so interesting that we get offended when people don't support us in our inconsistency. You want your friend to support your 5th business idea? Let me tell you where I'm not spending my money. With the person that is switching up every 3 weeks and rebranding all of the time. You need to have the perspective of, I am committed, I am going to win, and I am going to see this through. But if you constantly have this perspective of, I am a victim and I need other people to support me in order to win, in order to show up, and it's everybody else's fault and it's never my responsibility, you're going to have a tough time succeeding at anything. Personal responsibility needs to be a primary core value of yours if you want to start seeing success. So if you find that you're just discouraged every single week and you haven't shifted your mindset in order to know how to bounce back from things, in order to be resilient in some things, you need to work on that first. Mindset is one of the very first pillars that we teach at Impact Weekend before we even get into the messaging, before we get into the marketing, before we get into the monetization, because the mindset that you show up with to implement these business strategies is going to dictate the results that you get in your business. So I hope that you all enjoyed today's episode. Listen, I want to see you win. From the bottom of my heart, I do. And so if listen, I'm working on becoming better. I'm working on having the right mindset. I feel very confident that I can win, and I really just need some guidance. And you're looking for a coach, you're looking for a community, we would love to work with you. Go to builttoimpact.com/programs, apply to work with us. Let's have a conversation. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, or you know somebody who needs to hear this episode, please share it with them and leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. What was your biggest takeaway? Until next time, keep working hard so you can live soft.